YouTube, what is going on? Chris with Journals, Comics and Pop Culture. Today, I will be addressing the age-old question. What is a mid-grade? What is a mid-grade comic? So, guys, before you pay any mind to what you see on screen, let's dive into this question for a couple minutes here, okay? Um, we know that, well, most of us know that the idea of what defines mid-grade is not very concrete. As is many things in comic book collecting, there is no textbook definition to what defines a mid grade. You could go online and search and search and search. You will hear different people saying different things constantly. Even CBSI states that up into a 9.0 is considered a mid grade. Now that I disagree with 100%. Um, Even 9.0 has a near mint in the actual title by the industry these days, CGC, CBS, Overstreet, CBCS, Overstreet, and so forth. So that's a little bit of a stretch calling a 9.0 a mid grade, but we got we got to look at a mid grade like this. For one, we have to acknowledge the fact that it is subjective. It's 100% subjective to what an individual believes. Okay, uh, mid. We know what mid means, in the middle of a range of grades, right? So we can basically call anything that's not a 10 or a zero point 0.5, which are the highest and the lowest, a mid grade. If you want to get more particular, we could say anything lower than a 9.8, because we know 9.9s and 10s are hard to find. So anything lower than a 9.8 or higher than a point 0.5 should be a can be a mid grade, technically, right? We want to get that technical, but let's not get that technical, okay? What I want to show you guys is two things. Is one, I want to talk about how we can define mid-grade based on the 25 grade point system that is recognized by Overstreet, CGC, CBCS, all your local comic book stores, comic book dealers, nationwide, worldwide. The 25 point grading scale is basically the 10 to 0.5. Now, when we want to look at mid grade and base it on numerical numbers, we can't just base it on 0 to 10. I know a lot of people do this. Well, the grading scale is 0 to 10. So a mid grade must be right slap in the middle, 5.0, and anything maybe a couple grades lower and a couple grades higher is mid grade. No, because even though it's 10 numbers, it's a 25 point grading scale. There's much more scales between 9.0 and 10.0 than there is in any other part of that 10-digit scale, right? You catch my drift here? So, if we refer to the image on your left here, if we look in the middle of the 25-point grading scale, that yellow number, the 6.0, is actually right dab smack in the middle. Okay. But before we get too much into that, um, I want to show you guys the three images that we have here. We have three examples that I set forth. We have one for modern, we have one for silver, and we have one for golden, okay? And I'm going to explain along the way, and I hope you guys stick with this because this is going to be very, very thorough and in depth to helping understand. Now, what I have here is the grade point and the grade range, okay? We know the grade point. Most of us know the grade point, 0.5 all the way up to 10.0, right? Now, the grade range, before we dive into that, what I didn't include here is the terminology for each grade point. This grade range isn't standard terminology for the specific grade point. The standard terminology is near mint plus, near mint minus, very fine, near mint, very fine minus, fine, very good minus, good, fair, and so forth. Those are the terms that are directly correlated to each grade point digit, right? I didn't put that here because it's not really relevant. That doesn't change, okay? Those are solidified within the industry, okay? So I'm going to explain what grade range is, And keep in mind, this grade range terminology is subjective. It is what I am calling it. It doesn't have to be what you're calling it. And I'll kind of explain that as we go. But let's first look at this modern list here, okay? The modern list basically takes into account the 25-point grading scale, 10.0 to 0.5. When you find the middle number, and when we talk about averages, okay, it's going to be the middle number. You have, I believe, 12 numbers on top. 11 numbers on top, right? 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. It is 12. 12 numbers on top of the 6.0. And you have 12 numbers below the 6.0. That means that the 6.0 is mid-grade. All right? So, if you're looking at a modern book, my recommendation is to use the 6.0 is that middle grade starting point, okay? Now, basically everything in the gray around the yellow is what I believe to be considered mid-grade, okay? So when somebody asks you specifically for modern books, and I put modern as 1976 and to present. I know technically, the 70s and late 70s, early 80s could still be considered Bronze Age, but just, let's not dive into that. But I have it 1976 and present, okay? Anything gray is mid grade. So when somebody asks you what's mid grade of a modern book, I would say 4.0 to 8.0. That's mid grade. But most of us know that each of those grades is extremely different when it comes to the value of those books. So if somebody's trying to sell you a mid-grade book from the 80s, right? And they're telling you, oh, it's mid-grade, it's mid-grade. Well, does that mean it's a 4.0, a 6.0, or an 8.0, right? What does that mean? So that's why I have them even further broken down. So you could see if the 6.0 is the mid-grade, the 2 grades on top, I call them mid-grade plus. 2 grades below, I call mid-grade minus. 2 grades up from mid-grade plus, high mid-grades. 2 below for mid-grade minus, low mid-grades. So this gives you a clearer idea of what type of mid-grade it is. Now, the green on top represent what I would consider to be high grade books. The red, or different tones of red, just like these are different tones of green. These are what I consider to be low grade books. But once again, if high grade is 8.0 to 10.0, there's a huge difference between an 8.0 and a 10.0, or even, an 8.5 and a 10.0, or 8.5 and a 9.8, or a 9.6. So what did I do again? I broke them down. 8.5 to 9.2 are standard high grade. 9.4 to 9.8 are near mint high grades. And then your 9.9 and 10.0, which most of us know are extremely rare, are your high grade mint books, okay? Now, similar down here with the low grade. Your 3.5 to 2.5 are low grade pluses. Your 2.0 to 1.5 are low grades. And your 1.0 to 0.5, severe low grade. All right. So look at this, guys, and try to understand when we're dealing with the 25 grade point scale. This to me is the most logical way to break down high grade, mid grade, low grade. Now, the reason why there's different things here for Silver Age and Golden Age um, is simply this. And again, it's all subjective, okay? But we know that these ages of books, it's harder and harder to find those gem mint books. We know that 10.0 and 9.9s are rare with modern books. But when we go in the silver range, and I put silver from 1956 to 1974, and again, I know 1970, early 1970s is technically Bronze Age, but for argument's sake, we're keeping this in one age period, okay? I blacked out your 10.0 and your 9.9s. Now, the reason I blacked out the 10.0 and 9.9s is because I believe in this age, in this era of comic books, that 9.8 is almost, even a 9.6 can be seen as that high grade mint. Um, so when we take out the top two tiered grade points, everything is still based here by the average based on total grade point scales. So instead of a 25-point scale, now we have a 23-point scale, which moves the middle grade to that 5.5 mark. And then again, very similar, but now we have a wider range for mid-grade here because of them being older books. We have a wider range of mid-grade, okay? So that means your mid-grade plus is basically going down lower than on your modern books. A 6.0 is going to be considered a mid-grade plus. And your mid-grade minus is going to be going down lower than your modern books. A mid-grade minus is going to go all the way down to a 4.0 instead of a 5.0. So, and same here, your low mid grades are 3.5 to 3.0s, whereas here they are low grade plus. Your low grade plus is higher. Your low grades are the same down here, though, as you have less low grades compared to your modern. And then severe low is the same. Now it's same over here. Your near mint highs are lower. A 9.2 is now considered a near mint high, where over here it was just a high grade. And then, of course, like I said, 9.8 and 9.6, high grade mint. Now let's look at the gold. And again, now this is where really, I mean, if you look at the CGC census, and I obviously I haven't looked up every single book, but it's very rare, very rare. I don't know if there's any 10.0 or even I don't know about 9.8s or 9.9, excuse me, if there's any 9.9 or 10.0s on the census for pre-1956 books. I'm sure there's probably some 9.8s and 9.6s out there, very rare, but even your 9.4s and your 9.2s are going to be very, very rare. So now instead of a 25 or a 23 grade point scale, we have a 21 grade point scale, which puts your 5.0 right dab smack in the middle. So what does that do? It means your high grade mints now are down to your 9.4 and 9.2s. Your mid grade range is still larger than your modern, and it's basically bringing the mid grade minus down lower, and it's keeping your higher grades down lower as well. As we see, a high mid grade is a 7.0, where for your silver it was 7.5. Um, and then so forth down here, same thing. Low mid grade goes all the way down to 2.5, where over here low grade plus was a 2.5. And so forth, but we still have 1.0 and 0.5 is severe low grade. So there it is, guys. That's my breakdown. That's my breakdown. So when we are buying books or selling books, but I like to come from the approach of really buying, because when we're buying, we want to be educated, right? And I really think this system can help you really understand what to look for in the market and what defines high grade, mid grade, and low grade. And hey, look, it's for sellers too. You can really, implement these things as well. Now, you might say, well, it's getting redundant. It kind of gets redundant because we already have the grade point scale, the number system, right? And then we have the letter system with the near mint to very fine, fine, very good, good, and fair, and so forth. But you got to understand that this terminology does exist. We talk high grade, mid grade, and low grade all the time. So, if we want to get specific about our books, especially in an age of the graded book, in an age of the slab book, in an age where these companies like CGC and CBCS and this grade point scale is becoming more and more prevalent and important to collectors out there, where we're spending so much. We've evolved to this grading era of books. We went from folding books into our back pocket, you know, having our parents toss them out when we're done reading them, to, hey, maybe I want to keep this into a bag, and then maybe even a bag and board, to, preserving our books to the extent to where we are pressing them, cleaning them, all these tactics to where we want to get that grade of that book up just by a one grade point number, right? So many things. So when we use terminology that's already out there, like high grade, mid grade, and low grade, we want it to be a solid representation of the books that we are either buying or selling or in the hunt for. And I believe that this system right here really, really breaks things down and explains it. So that's my video for today, guys. Let me know what you guys think. Do you guys have problems with the terms high grade, mid grade, low grade? What do you guys consider to be mid grade? What's your range? And what do you base that on? And what do you think of the system that I showed you guys today? Now, again, I think for the most part, I'm going to wrap up by saying this. When we talk about most books, especially modern, I really believe a mid grade book can be anywhere from a 4.0 to an 8.0. Silver Age, 3.0 to 8.0. Golden Age, 2.5 to 7.5. That's my spiel for today, guys. Thank you so much for watching. If you guys haven't subscribed yet, please do so. We are like 30 subscribers away from hitting 2,000, and I can't wait to celebrate with you guys. I'm going to have a 2,000 subscriber live stream to hang out with you guys. I appreciate you all. Thank you for watching. Until next time.